And I'm not scared of death. I am legitimately not scared of dying because in my brain, I'm like, well, it just means I won't hurt anymore. But I am terrified of dying.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, how bad is it going to hurt before it's over?
Because those are two different things, for sure. Death and dying,
Yeah, and there's also just something very terrifying about the fact that there are so many things that set my disease off. I mean, like, just off the top of my head, physical exertion, emotional exertion, high emotions, cold, literally being cold. But it's like life, pretty much. It's kind of, those things are life.
It all starts with a single question asked to an anonymous caller. What do you think happens when we die? And from there, the conversation goes in completely unexpected directions. Some speak with certainty, others with doubt. Some are still trying to make sense of it all. I'm Zach Ansell, and this is When We Die Talks, a podcast about death, meaning, and how that shapes the way we live. This podcast was born from my own fears around death and the need to talk about it. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. I'm glad you're here.
This episode is supported by Mnemostheny, a project I've been building alongside this podcast. Mnemostheny is a simple way to tell your story in your own voice. It's a guided, audio-first conversation with me where we capture the parts of your life that matter to you, where you came from, the people who shaped you, the seasons that changed you, and the moments you don't want to lose. It's not therapy and it's not a performance. It's just a real conversation that becomes a private audio keepsake you can share with the people you love or keep for yourself. If you want to learn more, you can find it at mnemostheny.com. That's NEMOSENE.com. Hey, welcome back or welcome here if this is your first time. Before we jump into this week's call, I wanted to say something briefly about last week's episode with Dawn. It's been a while since we took a break from the anonymous format, but when we do, it means something. And that one meant a lot, probably more than I can ever express. I've received more feedback about that episode than anything else I've ever put out. People saying they cried the whole way through, that it hit them somewhere they weren't expecting. I'm genuinely honored by that, and I'm grateful to Dawn for trusting me with it. To be completely honest with you, I still haven't been able to listen back to it myself. I don't think I'm ready yet. That'll come with time. But thank you, sincerely, for the warmth you've shown around it. This week, we're going back to the anonymous format, and I think it's a fun one to jump back into. Our caller is a nurse, which already puts them in a category of people who are around life and death in a way most of us aren't. On average, they're present for roughly 2 deaths a week. But the curiosity didn't start with the job. When they were a teenager, they lost their childhood best friend, someone they'd known since they were 9, someone they described as their ride or die. They were there when it happened, and they were the one doing the CPR. And that loss and the questions it left behind is a big part of what sent them towards nursing in the first place. What grew out of all of that wasn't a fear of death. It was something that I think a lot of people can relate to, a fear of leaving people behind. This conversation goes a lot of places. We talk about reincarnation through the lens of a Mario video game, which sounds absurd and somehow works completely. We talk about what it feels like to watch someone die when you've done everything right. We talk about a man who spent his final moments alone because of something he said 20 years earlier that he never took back. And underneath all of it, there's this person who's seen more loss than most people twice their age, and they still show up. Still hopes they get to give the most embarrassing wedding speeches of all time for their sisters and their best friends. Let's get into the call. I hope you enjoy.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to chat with you.
I know, I'm so excited.
Yeah, I feel like your application is very interesting and very exciting. And so, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
So, yeah, I'm excited to chat with you, but I don't want to be like, oh, this is the most exciting one, because then people are going to think I'm picking favorites or something.
Oh, no, I don't think that. Don't worry.
My concern is always you get to be anonymous, but I don't. So I kind of am always like a little nervous about like, if I say something and then everybody hates me, then nobody will ever listen again. But it doesn't keep me up at night at all, ever.
I'm an actor, so I definitely get that.
Oh, perfect. I'm not. So maybe you can teach me some skills or something. I'm so glad that you were interested in doing this. So I just want to say thank you off the top. And then I think maybe the most basic question right out of the gate why you even wanted to do this conversation. It's a topic that a lot of people tend to avoid. It's a conversation a lot of people are afraid to have. And so you
Yeah.
applied to a stranger's post on the internet, which sounds way more sinister or creepy than I intended that to sound. But yeah, I'm posting this out and trying to get people to talk to me about death. So why did you want to do that?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I was diagnosed with a terminal illness when I was 8.
Okay.
So death definitely hasn't been something that's not on my mind. And I've always thought that we can laugh about it or we can cry about it, and laughing is a lot more fun. And I also feel like, I'm in theater and I'm also a writer. And I feel as though every story I've seen that center around terminally ill people are about how it affects everybody else. And the best example I ever gave was when I was very little, my grandmother read Little Women to me.
Okay.
And I hated it so much.
That's also like quite the book to read to a child, right? I mean, I haven't ever read it, but it's like, there's a lot going on.
My grandma definitely, yeah, there definitely was. But no, my grandma read Little Women to me, and I remember, I think it's Meg or Beth, whichever one is sick.
Okay.
I remembered how angry I was because she was a plot point. She wasn't a character. She wasn't a person. No one cared about anything about her. Meanwhile, all these other girls, Jo has all these dreams, and everyone has these dreams, and she makes people feel good about themselves because, and as I've grown up and as I've been in theater and been on film sets and watched films, and it's always, they're so strong and they have so much emphasis on how good they make everyone else feel. And I just feel like,
that's interesting. Yeah.
I wanted to be able to talk about what it's like to be the one dying instead of having my death be a plot point.
There's so many things in there that already set the stage for a wonderful conversation. And again, I don't want to play favorites with what you just said, but one of the things that I constantly run up against with, I keep on saying I'm almost 40. I'm 38, and people keep on correcting me and saying that that's not almost 40. But I have a lot of friends that think I'm crazy for doing this. And the one thing that I always kind of say is there are episodes of this podcast that are, I would say, devastating, that, I'm crying and whatnot, but there's still laughter in it. And so I love that that's one of the things that you brought right in the forefront, is that you choose to bring laughter and joy into this conversation instead of dwelling on the sadness. So I think that just sets the tone for this conversation. Even though you've said that, you have a terminal diagnosis, like, I think this is going to be a fun conversation. And that always feels like a weird thing to say at the beginning, but I am excited, and we'll dive into all of that. But maybe just to get to know you a little bit, of course, kind of keeping the anonymity and everything. I've even kind of backed off this a little bit because some people were a little hesitant to say the city that they were in. So maybe the state that you live in, and then your favorite book and why. And if we go back to Little Women, then that's fine.
I live in Los Angeles, so I'm okay saying that because it's giant.
There's a few people that live there.
But yeah, just a few. I'm in sunny Los Angeles, California. Favorite book? Oh my
Actually,
gosh, that is so
you know
hard.
what? I'm going to ask you one more question there. So you live in Los Angeles. Where did you grow up? Maybe that's what I'll start asking is where you live and where you grew up.
Yeah, okay. So I live currently in Los Angeles. I grew up in, drum roll please, Los Angeles.
Nice.
Well, I live in Los Angeles County.
Okay,
And now I live in the heart of Los Angeles. But I grew up in the very last city that is in Los Angeles. It is a tiny city. I will refrain from saying the name because there are about 40 people that live there.
Okay, perfect.
Like legitimately. But yeah, so I grew up in a very, very small town in the very end of Los Angeles County.
Okay,
and now I live in the heart of DTLA.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, I think maybe that helps give some context of like what the influences in your life are, and not that we can make a blanket statement about that, but I think depending on where you grew up or where you experienced, it might color your thoughts on this conversation. Anyway, I'm explaining too much. Your favorite book and why? Sorry.
Oh, all my friends know I am the biggest reader. I love books. I mean, I'm an English minor in college.
Okay,
so
nice.
I love books. But, oh my gosh, my favorite book. That is the question. I will say it's a tie.
Okay.
So my favorite book when I was, like, the first book that I read in, like, middle school, high school, that I was like, oh my gosh, mind blown, was a book called Reverie by Ryan LaSala.
Okay.
And it's about this urban fantasy, and it's about this group of friends that are able to go in people's dreams. And it's really fun. The main villain is a drag queen sorceress.
Wow.
There's a love story in it. It's the main character. He had gotten in a horrible accident, and so he lost all of his memories. So he has all these friends being like, oh my gosh, and you're this and this and this. And he's like, yeah, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. But I've always loved things where it's like based in reality, but then so different.
Yeah.
And
there's a little magic in there too.
That was my favorite book. Yeah. And then my favorite book right now is a book called We Fell in Love with Hope.
Okay.
And it's narrated by Hope and Death. And it's about 5 terminally ill kids in a hospital. And it is the most beautiful book I've ever read. Like, it is poetic and heartbreaking and hopeful. And you see how much these friends cling to each other. And you see how Hope, the narrator, truly has such a emphasis in how much she's trying to drive the narrative. And then you also have Death and how much he's not malicious, he's just factual, and he has to do what he has to do.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. And the story around how it got published is also heartbreaking and beautiful. So it's just, I highly recommend that book.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. I say this all the time, but that book does sound wonderful, and I'm going to add it to my list, my ever growing list, because that sounds really, really good.
Yes.
You probably totally understand the reading list issue. Like, it's just, you can't, it's impossible to keep up. Even, it sounds like you read a ton. I read it. You just can't, it's impossible to keep up with the amount of books coming in that it's like, oh, that sounds good. And that sounds good.
Something new.
Always. Yeah. Well, thank you for those recommendations. And now I'm, like I said, I'm really excited to dive into this conversation because I feel like you have a very unique perspective that I'm trying to think. I don't know if we've had, from the sounds of it, you're fairly young. So I don't know if we've had someone quite as young with this kind of perspective of a terminal diagnosis. So I'm very curious to see where this conversation goes, but we will start it off with the one big question of, what do you think happens when we die?
I've thought about this a lot. So hard. I have something I hope and I have something I think. What I think happens is, from a very scientific perspective, you know, our bodies decay, yada, yada, yada. But I do feel like we all have some sort of soul. I'm not religious, but I do think that there is some place that a soul goes. I've lost a couple friends, and my mom's lost a astounding amount of people. She grew up in a very, very, very poor neighborhood, and there was a lot of drug abuse and a lot of very unsafe activities. And so growing up, she lost so many people. But there's some people that we always feel like they're sending messages or something.
Yeah.
Especially, she was very close friends with someone who was in a pretty successful band. He was the lead singer of it. And before every really good thing that happens, if we're in the car or if we're in a grocery store, his song will come on.
Ooh,
like one of his
interesting.
songs. And it's like, of course, these things could be coincidence. These things could be, you know, confirmation bias, but there's something that just feels right.
Well, yeah, at some point, the odds of that coincidence happening over and over and over again, that does get to a point where it does get kind of weird.
Yeah, absolutely. And like my grandfather died when my mother was about 15.
Okay.
And he was a director. He was also in film. And whenever I'm about to go in for an audition, I feel like someone's there. And so that kind of leads into what I hope I have a way that I can watch over people.
Okay.
You know, I have so many friends that they don't like talking about me being sick, and my family. I mean, my mom, when I got diagnosed, I mean, one of the first things she said was, I can't believe I'm going to have to bury my daughter.
Yeah.
And even like my grandma, she was like, there's no way I should go, like you should go before me. And I just really hope that there's a way that I can look after everyone. And I've loved butterflies since I was born. My room was decorated with butterflies, especially blue morphos. So if I can have the power, I want to be able to send people butterflies whenever they feel like they're alone. Into the Woods is one of my favorite musicals of all time. And there's the last song is No One Is Alone. And I want to make sure that everyone knows that I am able to still watch them and keep them safe. And, you know, I guess a lot of people would call that like a guardian angel. And I hope that my soul is able to be somewhere that's calm and I'm not in pain anymore. And there's fields of flowers and oceans. And I hope that there's also a lot of souls of kids that I can take care of because I've always loved being able to help people. I mean, I've really always loved to help people. So I hope that there's somewhere where I can just help people, but also not have to be in a world where I am in pain all the time.
Yeah.
So
Understandable.
I guess that's what I hope.
Yeah. This is always the part of the conversation that gets really interesting because I have like 5 million questions now. And so I'm like, okay, which direction do we go? I think what I am very curious about, especially with your application, I mean, you've already talked about it multiple times, but I am curious about your diagnosis and like what that looks like. I think I do want to pull this quote out that was in your application. And you've kind of mentioned version of this, but I thought this was really beautiful too. I want to speak about death and dying from a lens of determination, hope, and my deep love of life. And so I thought that was wonderful. And so, yeah, I'm curious, maybe you can give an idea of the diagnosis and we can kind of talk through what that has been like.
Yeah, of course. I'm not going to give the specific disease
That's
that
fine.
I'm diagnosed with just because that feels a little bit wonky. But I started getting really sick when I was about 3 months old. And for a very long time, no one had any idea what was wrong with me. I remember when I was writing my college application, one of the first sentences was, I have been to every single floor of Children's Hospital.
Ugh.
Because I have a condition that affects every organ, every part of my body. It is something is wrong with my DNA. And pretty much without giving too many specifics, my white blood cells, they don't know what's a disease and what's part of me.
Okay.
So
Not
everything
good.
attacks itself constantly. And when I was really little, I mean, they were like, okay, something's wrong with her blood sugar. Maybe it's diabetes. No. Okay, something's wrong with her stomach. Maybe it's some sort of stomach disorder. No. And the list went down and down and down and down and down because every organ, something was wrong. And I was just getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And I would have these periods where I was fine. People would be like, oh, but she doesn't look sick. She looks so normal. She looks so healthy. She's so happy. And then another
Super
flare
helpful.
would hit. Yeah, so helpful. But another flare would hit and I would be bedridden. So much of my childhood was, even before we got the diagnosis, it was me having to realize that I had to pay for everything I did.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to be like, okay, I have a school pizza party on Tuesday, but my friend invited me to a birthday party on Sunday. Which is more important to me because I know I can only do one.
Ooh.
And that was my entire life. I paid for every game of tag. I paid for every time I was a child.
That's a big responsibility. I mean, maybe responsibility is not the right word, but it feels like a big chore, responsibility, whatever, to put on a child. And not that someone, but the universe or whatever, who I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, to just have thrust on you, like that's got to be incredibly challenging.
Yeah, and especially considering it was also like we didn't have anything we could explain to people. Like we didn't know.
Yeah, we're still trying to find answers.
Yeah, so it was a lot. It was a ton of tests. It was days and days and days in the hospital and stuff like that. And it was when we finally got the diagnosis, they got the diagnosis for the disease when I was about 6, and then they figured out the severity of it when I was 8.
Okay.
And at first it was a weight. I mean, when we got the disease, it was a weight off the chest. Oh, there's something. This is something that
we know.
Something. There's medication. There's things to do. And we tried the medication for 2 years, and we found that I have the medication-resistant variant.
Fun.
So I have the most severe variant. Yeah, great, fun, cool. I remember getting the diagnosis. It was in the same breath as a doctor said she will know a life of pain, which I feel like a little unprofessional to tell an 8-year-old, but cool. Hope that man's doing great with his life.
Yeah, that's one of those things that you just
anymore.
You never forget.
Yeah, I think pediatrics maybe wasn't where he should have gone into work, but you know what? Hope he's having a great time. But yeah, he told us that it was terminal, and me and my mom kind of tried to not think about that for a really long time, and then about a year later, I fully almost died.
So at 9?
I was in palliative care. Yeah. No.
Okay.
I
trying to keep track of the timeline.
Yeah.
Okay. Jeez.
So I was sent into palliative care. My kidneys were shutting down, and I lost about 10 pounds in a week.
Whoa.
I couldn't keep anything down. I remember I would throw up if I swallowed my own saliva. That pain I will never forget, because my stomach legitimately felt like it was trying to leave my body, and every inch of my body hurt.
Ugh.
Like my skin felt like it was on fire. My joints felt like they were constantly being pulled apart. It was horrifying. And I remember that was when I realized, oh, I'm going to die. And it's one of those things where you think, oh, a child can't fully understand what death is. And in that one moment, I can tell you with 100% certainty, yes, they can.
Yeah.
Because I was like, nope, I'm going to cease to exist. This is it. And somehow I got better a little. Doctors are incredible. I will always
the ones
say
that don't tell you that you're going to have a life of pain.
Yeah, the ones that don't do that. But no, healthcare workers are truly the greatest people that have ever existed on this planet. But after that, we call it the December episode because it started in December. And after that, I think that was when we all realized, like, oh, this is really serious.
Yeah.
And originally my prognosis was about 36. It's changed a little since then, kind of wibbly wobbly in the air.
Do you mind if I ask better or worse?
Not better.
Okay.
Definitely not better. It's more that doctors are like, well, it could be like a couple years, it could be like 10 years, but it's definitely not going to be more than 36.
Okay.
And it's also like a constant thing of every time I go into a really bad flare, we're all holding our breath going, is this the one?
Yeah.
Is the next one the one? And there's really no
Which
way
has to be so frustrating. I mean, not saying that you're like sitting there, I want to die, but like, hey, this suffering really sucks. And sitting in this kind of limbo of like, is this it? That's got to be really challenging.
I would say that's like the only time I'm like really scared.
And
I'm not scared of death. I am legitimately not scared of dying because in my brain, I'm like, well, it just means I won't hurt anymore. But I'm not scared of death. I am terrified of dying.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, how bad is it going to hurt before it's over?
Because those are two different things for sure. Death and dying,
Yeah, and there's also just something very terrifying about the fact that there are so many things that set my disease off. I mean, like, just off the top of my head, physical exertion, emotional exertion, high emotions, cold, literally being cold. But it's like life, pretty much. It's kind of, those things are life.
Yeah. And you're not going to go live in a bubble.
No. And I definitely, like, I've had people be like, oh, you should rest more. You should do more things. And I'm like, well, I
can't rest
all
the time forever.
Yeah. And I can't do, and my favorite movie ever is Steel Magnolias.
Okay.
And there's a quote in it that is, I would rather have 30 seconds of wonderful than a lifetime of nothing special. And that is how I want to live my life, is I would rather have the 30 seconds of wonderful. I'd rather do that play, say yes to that, do that. Like, my doctors are like, you shouldn't travel. And I'm going to Edinburgh to perform in a fringe festival.
Nice.
Because that's incredible. I'm the lead of a play in a fringe festival. That's insane. And like, of course, it's not a great, smart idea for me to be across the world. But I would rather have a life that I can remember on my deathbed than a life of, oh, I wish I had done that. Like, I don't want that to be my existence of this hood of this ellipses of what possibly could be if a person would have just had the bravery to live. I'm not afraid of the pain or the payment I might have to give for this. I would rather have a life that I can at least remember having an incredible life. So it's like, I guess that's my biggest struggle with it, is to be like, well, at what point am I being selfish, being like, I'm just going to live, screw you all if I die. And at what point am I just doing what needs to be done, being like, well, I can't, as you said, can't live in a bubble. So
it's always,
a lot of things I just said.
No, that's great. I mean, I have a couple things that I want to mention there, but like, life is a balancing act, whether you have a year, 10 years, 60 years. I mean, that's the other thing, is everybody walks around like they have 70, 60, 50 years left, but none of that's guaranteed. I love that Steel Magnolias quote, because what it makes me think of is that comment of, well, why don't you just rest more? And you saying, hey, I want to have a life that's worth remembering. I think that statement from other people comes from this place of not thinking about death. It comes from this death-phobic society where the ultimate enemy is death. And this is coming from someone who, like I said, still very afraid of death, don't like thinking about it, working through it. But when you look at death being the ultimate enemy, then why would anybody, not just someone with a terminal diagnosis, why would anybody get out of bed? Like, there are so many things that could happen on your commute to work, on your school, or whatever you're doing. I don't know, you could eat something and, whatever. Like,
I personally don't like have a car, but all of my friends who are like, oh my gosh, like you should conserve your energy, you should rest. And I'm like, and you get in a car to go down the street, you could die.
Yeah.
Do you know how common car accidents are? Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, girl, you have a more likelihood than me right now.
Totally. Yeah. It's that mentality of, well, yeah, like then do less because then you'll live longer. But is it worth living longer and also, like we just said, there's no guarantees that will make you live longer. And I mean, you as in the grand royal you, but this culture of not talking about death, being afraid of it, and then saying, play it safe. And I think that's when you come to the table with this conversation, your line of this deep love of life, like death allows the realization of that. I'm convinced. Like, I think there's many other ways to come about that, but I think death I think it's just an ever-present fear for most people, whether they want to admit it or not. I think most people are afraid of something. And I said this a couple of times on here. I think I've said it poorly, but like if someone tells me that they're not afraid of death, but then the next second, I ask them, oh, are you afraid of heights or snakes or whatever? And it's, well, why are you afraid of that thing? Because you're worried it's going to kill you. And so it's this unwillingness to look at death. And I think when you do, it just kind of opens up the floodgates of like, oh, wow, this is really special. This is really beautiful. This thing that I get to do, I need to take advantage of it somehow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it feels like that's what you're doing, like very much so.
Well, thank you. I try. I definitely try.
Yeah. And I'm sure some days better than others.
Yeah.
I do just keep on coming back to that line from the application of like, what gives you this deep love of life? I think there's so many people, a lot of people were given and I'm sure there were times with the diagnosis that you're like, fuck this sucks.
Oh,
I'm pissed, absolutely. I'm annoyed, life is not fair, life is horrible. But how do you continue to come back to this kind of deep love of life?
Yeah, absolutely. I think first off, one of the things is that I do let myself scream into the abyss, like, this isn't fucking fair. And like, why can't this happen to horrible people? Why does it have to, like, not that I'm goddamn Messiah or something, but like, I'm not someone like actively taking away people's rights or something like that. And it's like,
we don't have to name names.
Someone, but like we all know what I'm taking up, or like someone who's like a child predator, or like something like you could make them suffer. Like, why me? Like, why an 8-year-old? So I think one of the things is that I definitely let myself have those moments because I think trying to almost like toxic positivity yourself is not.
Yeah, you can't just shove that down.
Go well. No, but I think the thing that gave me this incredible love for life is my family. I mean, my grandma is an incredible visual artist. I always get on her a little bit because I'm like, your work should be in a museum. And she's like, no, it's fine. I'm like, Grandma.
It sounds like you have a talented family.
I do. I have an incredibly talented family. But my grandma is an incredible artist. And growing up, I grew up with my mom and my grandma. That's who I've lived with before I moved out. And it's just seeing how we would go to gardens, we would go to beaches, I was outside so much of my life, whether that was when I was really little, I would be in a stroller, or when I was older, I'd be in a wheelchair or using my cane or something like that. But I'd still always be outside. And just seeing the way she looks at the world, it made you appreciate like the way that leaf fell, or the way that this butterfly is landing on this milkweed, or this rock formation. We used to go to, there's a like little trail near where I live, and it has these beautiful rock formations. And some people walk past and be like, oh, it's pretty. But, she would sit there and describe every color of these deep browns and reds and golden and just all of these things. And it makes you, if you grow up with someone like that, you really appreciate how beautiful things are. And then my mom, she is my greatest inspiration. I think that she is the greatest person who's ever existed.
Awesome.
And she is brilliant. She is a writer. She is afraid to publish, but trying to get her out of her shell there. But she is an incredible writer, and she's an incredible storyteller. She used to tell me when I was really little, especially when I was sick, I would say, Mom, tell me a story about a Lego penguin, a bottle of perfume, and a flower. And she would do it.
Oh, that's awesome.
I remember one time it was the letter E, a ceiling fan, and an aquarium. And she had this whole thing. And so it was like my grandmother taught me the beauty in reality, and she taught me the beauty in possibility. And I think with those things combined, and then me, I was always an incredibly observant child, and I've always been incredibly observant. My mom always jokes that she hates going to the movies without me because she misses things, and I'll be like, oh, that's the guy from this, and da-da-da-da-da-da. But yeah, it's like I am incredibly observant, and then being taught by these two incredible women who are able to see so much rich vastness in the world has really given me this way of appreciating things, and I just feel like everything deserves to be appreciated. When I was really little, people would laugh because everyone else's favorite animal was like a cat, and mine has always been a shark.
Nice.
I love sharks. And one of the things that I love about them is that I feel so close to them because of how misunderstood they are. And I feel that way. I have a pet millipede.
I was about to say, if you have a pet shark, hold on. I was like, whoa, hold on. I was so many unexpected twists and turns.
No, I have a pet millipede,
okay.
And I love insects, and I rescue snails and spiders and everything else. And I truly do think that everything is a gorgeous creation. And my mom is the type of person that she one time said that she was late to like a high school class because she couldn't stop appreciating how the light was hitting this one tree.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was like, there's no one else to appreciate how beautiful this is. And I think being raised in that environment, I really became very, very appreciative of everything. And also, like, my mom has given so much to me. I mean, I'm the first person to go to college, and I haven't graduated yet, but I will be the first to graduate. And it's an incredible thing to be able to be like, she has given me so much.
Yeah.
And we don't have money. We don't have a lot. But it's like she always made there be a possibility. And I think that really sparked my love of life. And then just growing up, seeing so many incredible people, so many incredible places. And yeah, it just really gave me that love of life that I carry with me.
Yeah, I love my job before, and this is not my job, but I was a photographer for a very long time. And so I love this idea of like stopping and seeing a tree and just being like, obsessed with how the light was hitting it. And the one thing that came to mind is just how rare that's becoming, because when you're walking, and again, I mean, the royal you, you're looking at your phone all the time. And I remember I took this class last year. It was just like a day-long like meditation retreat class, and it was on like the mindfulness of death. And she talked about how when you go to lunch during our like lunch break, she was like, I want you to like eat every piece of food like it was your last. And I ended up going for a walk instead. I was like, I'm not really hungry. I'm going to go for a walk. And it was just like the whole time I was walking, didn't have music on, wasn't looking at my phone. I think I even left my phone at home. And I don't know, 20 seconds saying, this could be the last walk you ever go on. I did notice the light hitting the trees, and I felt the breeze and like the rustling of the leaves, with the wind and all these things. And it's like, wow, we really take so much for granted. And so I love that you have that perspective on life. Yeah, I love that so much. And I love that you have this family. That sounds so amazing.
I love my family. They are. They truly are.
And I don't want to make this like super emotional or anything, but what do you think about that? And I know you kind of mentioned their perspective on things of, I think you said with both of them, I shouldn't have to bury my daughter. I shouldn't have to bury my granddaughter.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about that, from your perspective? Like, that was from their side of things. Like, how do you feel about not being around anymore?
Yeah. I mean, that's the big thing, right?
Yeah.
There's something that a lot of people say when they're dying, that it's not that you're dying, it's that everyone and everything is. And I think about that a lot. Like, I get really scared a lot of the time. Like, I get terrified of people. Like, I'm not scared of myself dying.
Yeah.
But I'm terrified that someone else is, because I constantly have that. You almost have this grief for everyone. Like, it'll be my mom will go when I'm home for the summer, when I was living at home, or even if I'm home for like Christmas or something like that, she'll be like, oh, I'm going to the grocery store. And in my brain, I'm like, okay, the grocery store is this far away. It's going to take da-da-da-da. And then she'll be like 30 minutes late. And for those entire 30 minutes, I'm like, something happened. And every time I say goodbye to my grandma, I'm like, what if something happens? What if something happens? What if something happens? It just runs over and over and over again. And there's also a point where it's like, not to be like, I'm the favorite child, but like, I'm the favorite child. Though not to get too much into my family. If you knew my siblings, you would know why. But I was kind of the one that just clicked in my family. And I know how much my mom and my grandma incredibly love me. And I feel really guilty a lot of the time. Like especially when I'm doing things, I mean, like, as I've said, like, I try not to let my disease stop me from doing things, but there's sometimes where I'll think, like, especially I was in a very, very demanding play this semester. And there were times where I was like, I can't breathe. Everything hurts and I can't breathe. And I was like, I am trading my family's sanity for a fucking play.
Yeah.
Who am I to do that? And so there's a lot of, like, guilt that comes with it. And it's not just my family. It's like, I have incredible friends, and it's like, I'm going to leave them, especially, like, my best friend of all time. Like, I say, like, all the time, like, I'm always going to be here for you. Like, when I went to college, she's younger than me, and I was like, I promise you, don't worry, I'm going to be here. I'll always be here. And it's like, but I'm fucking lying. I'm not always going to be here. And I have an incredibly amazing partner, and our song is Always Forever. And it's such a sweet song, but there's also, and we'll say that to each other a lot. We'll be like, I love you, always forever. It'll be forever, and for me, it's not forever for them. I'm a poet, and one of the poems I wrote when I first realized, I'm, like, really in love with my partner was called To Hurt a Soulmate. And one of the lines was, I say soulmate as if a dying girl has any right to a soul.
Ooh.
Yeah. Like, I can get sad about things. And I think that's the worst part about dying is that you realize you're going to hurt everyone. And, like, I got really scared when I was in high school, especially about making friends. Like, I've always had a lot of friends. I was prom queen. I was student government. Like, I was very, very public, but I almost always wanted to keep people in a distance. And I've always, like, my friends have been like, you talk about friendships like they're very temporary. And I'm like, well, I mean, they're not forever.
Yeah,
and
totally.
It's not like I think, but there is a point where it's like every single person that I become close to, every person that says, oh, I love you, oh, you're such a good friend, I'm like, and that's another person I'm going to hurt. And that goes on the list.
Yeah.
There's going to be a list of people who are going to sob, and it's my fault, and there's nothing I can do about it. And that weighs really heavy on me a lot.
And I think that's absolutely understandable. And I am no therapist, and I'm not trying to. I know I'm not going to solve any problems. But the two things that really come up for me there are, it's this love of life that then continues to push you, that allows you and, like, says, yeah, you know what, but it's still worth it. You know, it's still worth to have these connections. It's not. Absolutely. This is not creating this extreme fear in me to put people at an arm's length at all times because I could hurt someone. And it sucks that all these people will have extreme emotions, but there's also, I don't want to say extreme emotions because that sounds like it's outlandish. They'll have very real, authentic, like, emotions that are warranted. But that's the beautiful thing of, like, being able to love another person, whether it is romantically or friendships or whatever it is. Like, that is kind of the bargain that we all make, right? Is we love people and we lose people. Yeah. And that could, like we talked about, that could force you to live in, I don't know, more of a metaphorical bubble of, you know, kind of keeping everybody at a distance. But you continue to go back to this thing of, like you said, from your mom and from your grandma, like, this intense love of life because you see the beauty in it and you see the beauty in the connections with people. That's at least what I'm hearing. Absolutely. I'm not here to analyze you or anything, but that's what I'm really getting from you. And I think that's really beautiful.
Thank you.
So I do have one last question that I normally ask everybody, but I think before I ask that one, because you have such just an interesting perspective, and if there's nothing here, we can just kind of cut this part out. But is there something that you wish people knew? And I'm going to leave it that broad.
Yeah. There's like so much I want people to know, because I think that terminal illness and honestly disability, like especially physical disability just in general, is incredibly poorly represented, which is honestly one of the reasons I want to be an actor. I mean, I am an actor.
Yeah, you're doing it. You're doing the damn thing.
I do the damn thing. I think the biggest thing is a lot of people will be like, well, you look fine today. Or you were able to do this yesterday, Or I heard this thing on Google about your disease, which means you're lying. And it's like, okay, so what? First off, like, just to say, just as a blanket statement, to lie about having a terminal illness is the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Real fucked
and
up.
I've had several people be like, no, you're not. And I'm like, what the fuck? No, I think the biggest thing is, like, there's a very big misconception of what someone who's dying would look like or be like. Because we all imagine a Victorian child laying in bed, pale with a handkerchief, coughing up blood. And it's like, that's tuberculosis. That's not everything.
I would also say if you said, what does a person dying look like? They're also 70, 80, 90 years old is the initial image, right?
Yeah, and I think that that's the biggest thing is that, like, I don't know how to say this without sounding very vain. I'm a fairly, like, stereotypically attractive person. Okay. I am an actor. I am a model. I'm pretty, like, I don't want to say that, but, like, there is something to be said about the fact that someone who's dying isn't going to look, well, I mean, sometimes they can, but a lot of times we're not going to look like someone who's dying.
Yeah.
And we're not going to act like someone who's dying. I'm doing quotation marks. You can't say it. But I guess the biggest thing I would want people to know is that I can be talking to you and laughing and having fun, and I am at an 8 out of 10 pain. And it's not that it's become, because people will be like, oh, well, it becomes normal for you. Like, no, you don't get, that doesn't, you don't stop feeling it. It's just that you go, well, I'm going to push through this.
Yeah.
And so I think
I don't really have an option.
I don't, that is exactly the thing. It's like, what is the other option? You curl into a ball and scream? Like, that's not socially acceptable.
That would be pretty great. Can you do that for me sometime soon?
When I get home.
Just in public one time. Can you do that for me and report back? Just curl into a ball in the middle of a room and start screaming.
Yeah, maybe
it hurts right now.
Be a little bit.
I'm a bad influence. Sorry.
I think that's like, no, you're great. But I think that's the, like, biggest thing I would want people to know is that just because someone looks like they're doing great, or someone is like, oh yeah, I'm a little tired, that's my favorite words in the world, doesn't mean that takes away everything they've been through. It means that they're so much stronger than you ever will know.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, that's the biggest thing. And especially, like, I think it's majoritively media's fault. And also, like, most people don't talk about death.
Yeah.
So, like, no one knows who's dying. But yeah, I think it's big media thing of, like, I must faint into my chair. And it's like, okay, like, stop.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And I just try to live that across the board these days where
Absolutely.
You just don't know what someone else is going through. You don't know what kind of day that they're having. You don't know what's going on. And we all take everything so personally. And it's like, I think it's David Foster Wallace has, like, a whole speech. I think it's called This Is Water. And one of the things that he talks about is
I know This Is Water.
Yeah. And it's like someone cuts you off in traffic and you get all angry and you're like, oh, this person, you know, they offended me. They hate me, whatever it is. You make up this whole story and it's like, how do you know that they're not rushing to the hospital because someone's dying or their wife or whatever, you know, something's going on, you know, someone's having a baby. There's so many things. And so we make so much of the world about us, which is totally understandable because our experience is ourself. But I don't know. For me, it's just relieves so much pressure to just be like, I have no idea what kind of day that person's had or week or month or life. I don't know. I think we just all need to, like, take a collective breath and just be like,
grace.
and then just be like, hey, you know what? This life thing, it's not easy. And we don't have to sit here and try to compare what's worse or what's better. Like, hey, let's just all be, like, kind of chill with each other. Is that acceptable?
Yeah, right?
Easier said than done. I love that. I love that addition. I wanted to give you, like, a little space to say that. Is there anything else you want to say there before I wrap up with a final question?
To anyone listening, if someone in your life is being like, I'm terminally ill, never say the words, but you don't look sick, because we all want to hit you a little bit. Especially, like, I spend, like, 30 minutes in the morning, like, putting on makeup. I was going to
say, your goal's not,
like I'm dying.
Yeah, it's your goal's not to go out to look sick. Be like, hey, everyone, I'm sick. Yeah.
No. It's like, no, I don't. This is a costume. In the great words of RuPaul, we're born naked and everything else is drag. This
Yeah.
is drag.
Yeah.
This is not, oh my God. The funny thing I want to say is please don't say that. I think the other thing is like especially like in media and honestly in the world, but in media, like there is such an emphasis on disability and terminal illness being a plot point. And I think like my biggest thing is that if you are terminally ill, you are still someone who is so vibrantly living, and you can fall in love and be sexy and fun and go to parties and also be incredibly studious and serious, and
You can
like,
live life.
we're still people. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing different. And so I think like that's the biggest thing is like anyone who's writing characters or anyone who has this view of like what we can and can't do, it's like, stop making us this one-dimensional plot point for every healthy person in a 10-mile radius to feel sad. It's like that's not our point in life. And
Yeah.
so it's like, and all these like weird preconceived notions. I mean, I've had people be like, oh, I'm sure terminally ill people and disabled people can't have sex. And I'm like, what? That's crazy. That's a crazy sentence.
Where'd you come up with that?
What? Or it's like, I remember someone was like, you go to parties? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, you have had alcohol? And I'm like, yeah.
I don't know why this is
like,
coming to my mind, but it's almost like people have this like moment of I don't know what to do with my hands. Like it's like I'm having a conversation with someone and I don't know what to do with my hands. It's like just be normal.
Yeah, just be normal.
Yeah.
Just stop being so weird. Please
But
stop
like,
being so weird.
But also be like weird in like the good way, not the bad way.
Yeah.
Like don't conform
No, but,
and be like do cool weird stuff, not weird awkward things.
Not the weird where I feel like I need to call a trusted adult, and unfortunately I am the trusted adult.
Oh. So my last question for you. What's one thing you still want to experience in this life?
Oh my gosh. Everything. I think, honestly, the biggest thing I want to experience is I want to get to a point where I'm okay doing nothing for like a couple hours. So I'm someone who, I mean, I want to travel. I want to be a movie star. Like I want all that. I want the glitz and glam. But I'm someone who in high school, I took 9 classes. I was international baccalaureate. I was 4.5 GPA, technically salutatorian because me and someone else tied for valedictorian. I got the speech. He got the title, but valedictorian.
And let's be serious. You wanted that speech.
I wanted that speech. And I demolished that speech.
I bet you did.
I applied for 13 colleges, got into 12 of them. I'm now at a very prestigious university. I'm in 5 different volunteer organizations. Like, I do a lot.
Yeah.
I do a lot.
Yeah.
I keep myself very, very busy.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've gone to incredible places. I've been so incredibly lucky to be able to travel and have all these experiences. But I think the one thing that I really want to get to a point in my life is where I could be like, you know what, today, sure, I might do a couple things, but then I'm going to go home and sit by myself and do something and not feel like I'm wasting time.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing that I want to accomplish before I die, is that I want to be in a point where it's like, no, I'm okay just existing. I don't have to pedal to the metal.
Yeah.
24/7. Everything I do doesn't have to be to get to the next thing. I can just be like, you know what? It's okay. Yeah. I love reading. I mentioned that at the beginning of this, but it's still like there's a part of me that's like, you spent 30 minutes reading. You could have spent 30 minutes applying to internships. And it's like, okay, but like we also need to have rest. And that's something like my partner has talked a lot about, because they're someone who's very much like they bake in time in their day for them to do nothing. And I'm like, how? And they're like, you just let yourself breathe and rest. And I'm like, but like all the things you could be doing. And they're like, yeah, but if I'm stressed, I'm not going to do them well anyway. And I'm like, oh,
damn,
that's really true.
You got a point there.
Damn.
I feel like
you got me there.
And of course, like people probably hate me bringing this up all the time, but it's just a huge part of my life now. I think maybe what we need to do is just send you on a meditation retreat for like a week and just have you like sit and meditate.
I
and then maybe you come back and you're like, oh, you know what? I can take some time away.
I'm going to expose myself as a theater kid so bad right now. But in the eternal worlds of Lin-Manuel Miranda, I want to stop writing like I'm running out of time. Like it's great to be passionate. I think everyone should do the hard thing, but I think at a certain point, it's also like, I want to learn how to exist with myself. How do I just sit with myself and be like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Not everything has to be perfect. Not everything has to be the most incredible thing you've ever done. And I just really want to get to that place. Also, really want to go to Greece. That also would love to do before I die.
I love the
throw that one in.
Yeah, the juxtaposition of like, this isn't exactly what you said, but it's like, I want to find true internal peace and happiness, but also I want to go to Greece. So I love that little, you couldn't leave Greece out. So, but I just want to
I couldn't. I was like, yeah.
I just want to say thank you so much for being willing to do this. It was so much fun talking with you, like such a wonderful conversation. Yeah. And
thank you so much.
I feel like the moment that you do, it's a two-parter. The minute that you either attain internal peace and happiness and whatever, or the minute you go to Greece, I want to hear about it. So,
okay.
And maybe it'll happen at the same time. Maybe it'll happen in Greece. Maybe that's where it all comes together. I don't know. Just putting it out there.
That would be amazing.
But yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
All right. You too.
Right,
bye.
There's something this caller said that I keep coming back to, that terminally ill people get turned into plot points, a device for everyone else's feelings. And this caller is just not that. They're so fully, specifically themselves. They have opinions about books and sharks and musicals. They're in love. They're scared. They're funny. They're a person. And I think that's a good reminder that we really never know what someone else is carrying. Most people aren't waking up and announcing it. A breakup, a layoff, a terminal diagnosis. We show up, we laugh, we make plans, because that's what you do. And those things don't define us, but they do shape us in ways that are worth paying attention to. I'm really grateful they wanted to have this conversation. It's personal way that not everyone would be willing to share, and I don't take that lightly. On my end, I'm heading into a meditation retreat next week, so there won't be an episode. I went back and forth on this for a while, but part of it is just the added stress of trying to do another episode before I left. But honestly, the bigger part of it is that it never feels right to put out an episode when I'm not around to be present for it. These conversations deserve more than that, and I want to make sure I'm showing up in a way that's respectful to the callers. I'll be back the week after next. Thanks for listening to this episode of When We Die Talks. These conversations don't offer answers, but they do open space. Space to reflect, to feel less alone, and maybe to see things a little bit differently than before. If you'd like to explore your own beliefs out loud, you can apply to be an anonymous caller at whenwedietalks.com. And if a full call feels like too much, the voicemail is always open. Leave a message at 971-328-0864 and share whatever death has stirred in your life. Listener support truly helps keep this project going. If you'd like to support the podcast, you'll find a link in the show notes. And as always, please like, share, and follow. Every bit makes a difference. Until next time, have a good life.